video about JWT Tokens security in the library called Authpermissions.AspNetCore, which I will refer to as Authp because it's too long. So this video is being asked by people on Twitter. So let's have a look. So a quick introduction to the Authp library. It has three major features. One is an improved role authorization system where the difference between this and the roles in ASP.NET Core is that you can alter a role using an admin screen, whereas in the roles in ASP.NET Core can only be changed by editing your code and redeploying the application. But the second one, this is the JWT refresh token feature, which we're going to cover. And the third feature is multi-tenant applications. The Authp library makes that much easier. And you see the URL at the end to see the open source library. So let's go to what is a JWT token? So it's a way of telling people that there is a approved user and carry some information about that user. So particularly in ASP.NET Core, you can use a JWT token, and when you log in, it will know that that user is being authenticated, and it will carry some of the claims that a ASP.NET Core user would have. JWT tokens are usually used for web API applications and in microservices. They can be used in a number of other places as well, and the alternative is using cookies for authentication. Those are ASP.NET Core allows cookies or JWT tokens to do your authorization. The particular thing about JWT tokens, they are signed, so a hacker would be very, very hard to create a token to get at your data, but the problem is a hacker could copy your JWT tokens while it's going between your browser and the application, and if that a hacker gets that token, then he can access the database, the application, the same way as you do in parallel with you. So that's the thing that's a bit worrying, and they've in the latest specs they have something called a refresh token, which I'm going to explain. Look up here at the top right. JWT.io is a good website to go to see about JWT JWT Tokens, I'm going to go to my documentation that goes with the Authp library. So I'll pull that up. And I'm going to go to JWT Tokens Explained. So, as I said, a JWT token on its own, someone would log in, get a token, and you'd have to have a long period where it's valid. All these tokens go out after so much time, but it would be really annoying to the user if he had to log in every half hour or something. So they know, therefore, a token would be, I don't know, 8 hours long or something, and that gives the possibility that a hacker could copy the token. So that's the thing that we're going to solve. The other thing to understand is that there's no logout with a normal JWT token, because once you create the token, it's out there, and anybody that picks it up it will be valid until its lifetime goes out. That's slightly different to a cookie, where you can delete the cookie. So yeah, there's a difference. And the other thing to know is that the data inside a JWT token is not encrypted. That isn't much of a problem, but if it is, you would have to add something to do that. So the solution is to, and these two people have got articles of how to do this. The solution is well known. What you do is you have a short a JWT short token that has a short lifetime, right? Say 5 minutes. But you can refresh it automatically without the user knowing, using this extra refresh value. Now let's go down to this diagram. So the idea is Joe logs in, he gets the front end gets the JWT token and also the refresh token, and the front end is going to hold that, and then he goes on, and with every request, the front end will add the JWT token, and it'll all work fine. But after 5 minutes, the JWT token is invalid, it's run out, and then you go into this code that will refresh it. So let me just get the right bit of so I'm going to now show you how this works by using an application, an example application that is in the Authp library. I've got quite a lot of examples of how things work. So the first thing to say, I have this is a Web API ASP.NET application, and here is the well-known weather forecast. So I'm going to start. Oh yes, what we should say before we start is I have I've added this permission. This is what Authp does, which says that the user must have permission 1 in order to get to this forecast. So if we now go to this, I'm using Swagger, and if I go to the weather forecast and I try this, I get a unauthorized. That's what 104 is. And so therefore I can't access it. To access it, I need to log in. And I could just create a login with Authenticate and just have the token, but I want to show you the refresh. So this one, I have a user. Where it is? Oh no, that one. Sorry, that one. So I've got a user called Super. And I have that for password as well. So when I execute that, I get back this, right? So I get the token and a refresh token. I'm going to copy that, and you can't see it, but I'm going to put it in a notepad just so I can it. So what I do is I take this token, your front end would do, it would hold it and ready to feed it back. In Swagger, I can do that. I can give it a token like that, and whenever I do a request, it will add that. So now let's go down to our weather, which failed, and if I execute it, whoopee, I've got the it all works, and it returns the information that I want. I will. It's nearly 11:45, and rather you waiting for 5 minutes and just twiddling your thumbs, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pause the video, and then when 5 minutes have gone past, we will see that it doesn't work anymore, and we're going to have to refresh it. So let me just turn off the recording. Run this again. I get a 401, which is unauthorized. So that's exactly what I expected. The JWT token has run out, it's expired. So we've got to refresh it. So here we are. Yeah, there we are. That's the one I want. So what I need to do, I carefully copied away the rings. So what I need to do here is put the expired token in, because it needs to still check that the other things in it are all right, and we return the refresh token. and when I execute it, I get a new set of token and refresh token. So let's go back. I'll just save that, and I need to. This is what the front end code would do. It would replace it with the new one and keep the refresh token as well. And now I go down to the weather forecast, which failed before. When I execute, it works. So that's if we go back to this picture here, you see I was accessing things, then 5 minutes went past, I got rejected. Manually I did this and we were away again. So I haven't provided the front end code because that depends on, you know, Angular, React or whatever, but if you search for refresh token Angular or refresh token React, etc., you'll find it. Anyway, so the last thing I wanted to show you is that I've added a logout. So here we are. So once I do this, it'll come back and say, "Yep, I've done that." Now, the JWT token is now still got 5 minutes since we got it, but if we try and use that to, here we are. So if I ask to refresh it, then it won't work. So what I need to do is I have to get this. I put in the new, careful. That, and then a refresh token. But when I execute it, it says, no, you can't, because the refresh token has been invalidated. So you can only use, just for security, you can only use one of these refresh tokens once. That stops anybody coming in, you know, and nicking it. But this might be useful. Say you've got something dodgy going on, and you're not quite sure what the user's doing, or you want to make the user log out, then you can do a log out on that user ID, and then they after the JWT tokens expires, they have to log in again to get it right. So let's have a look at the code that does this, right? So let me go to the code. So you saw the authentication refresh using this access. So let's have a look at the other parts. So let's have a look at startup. So this is a classic, a standard startup file in ASP.NET Core. Here I'm setting up the individual users authentication. Then I need to get some data for my JWT data, and I put it in app settings, right? So this is the issuer, and you could have a name, whatever. I've used this. Is this the app? The actual application is the issuer, and is also the audience, the person that wants to listen to it. And then you have this very important signing key. This you must keep very hidden, otherwise a hacker could replicate, build a JWT data a token. So you would, here I put it in. It's an app. It's a example, so it's fine. But you could use user secrets, or you could override this value when you deploy it. So so I get that data in, and I use it when I'm setting up the token. So I tell this add authentication tells ASP.NET Core that I want to use JWT Bear for authorization, right? And then here, where I talk about the token, I need to tell it what it should validate and what the values are to check that the JWT token is valid. So I say I want to validate the issuer, and this is the issuer that came from the app settings, right? Audience. I want to validate the signing key, of course, and there's the signing key. That's pretty important. And normally there's something called clock skew, which will defaults to 5 minutes, so that if you have an issuer by a program over there, an application over there, and you are the audience, they might not be quite in line from time. So it uses this to give you a bit of shuffle room. I want to turn that out because I want it to expire very quickly. So that's all total. You'd have to do that whatever you were doing if you were just using JWT tokens. This bit is something suggested by Blinking Carrot, which is one of the people I learned from, and this just on authentication fail, it sends back this to the front end. The idea is that make the front end will be has a definite thing that says, oh yeah, the token expired, I need to refresh it. So coming down to my library, so I'm registering auth permissions. I have to have some permissions, which is given here, but because I'm using JWT tokens, I have to set up some information for my library to be able to create the correct JWT token. So issuer, audience, and signing key are obvious, but this is where I say that the token expires. That's the refresh, the JWT token. I said it expires after 5 minutes, and that's because I want it to be quickly replaced. But for the refresh token, it's valid for a whole day. You could make it shorter, longer, whatever you want, but the idea is that after 1 day, the person just can't. It will be logged out. Okay. So the Authp library needs a database. It can compare. It can work with the your own database. It can be part of your own database. It uses EF Core, and it uses a way where it can work and migrate that part separately. And this is these bits here are there's a classic problem when you create an application and you deploy it. You haven't got the list of users is empty, but you need to have a user in order to add more users. So you know, because the ability to add a user is locked down by features. Nobody can get at it. So you have to add a user, and this code here. There's a bit of code that adds a super user to the individual accounts provider, and you can see in the app settings I've just set the email and the password, and then these other paths I add roles and permissions if empty. I add author users if empty. So these things only run if there's nothing there, and it will put in a user. And then finally, all of these set it up, and this actually sorts that out and runs it. There is a limitation in version 1 that this kind of code won't work with scaled out applications, i.e. if you have more than one instance of the application starting up, then these will this will be run by every application, and that can cause problems. In version 2, I'm going to provide a way to around that. But even in version 1, if you want to use it, you just have to find another way. There's another command here which won't try and update the database and stuff like that, and you can't include these either. And it's up to you then to get the users into that database. Okay, the rest is very straightforward. This is how setting up Swagger. So yeah, and that is all the code. Obviously, you have to include the Authpermissions.AspNetCore NuGet package. But let's go to finish. Let's go to this page. So I've shown every part of the JWT token and its ability to refresh. Things that you should know: that the JWT token, that feature, is designed to work with my Authp library. So therefore it contains the user permissions claim, the user ID, because you need that everywhere, and then the user's permission to claim, and the if you're doing multi-tenant, it'll include the data key as well. You can see these explained in the documentation. Yes, the JWT token and refresh is available in version 1. If you clone the library and select example 2, you can see the code in the video, and you can run it and you can play with it and all the rest of it. If you have any other questions or feedback, then please contact me via Twitter at the Reformed Prog. I hope that has been helpful for you.